Good morning, everybody. It's another beautiful day on God's green earth. Well, it's not that green anymore. It's kind of brown, but you get the point. But it is absolutely beautiful today. It's a little bit windy. It's been windy for like a week now. Kind of getting tired of the wind. But other than that, the sun's shining. The rain's gone for now. Overall, it's a pretty beautiful day. I have got a pretty major project in front of me. You guys remember all those old cars that I had to move so we could tear the building down? Well, rent is coming up due for a third month here pretty soon, so we've got to get those cars moved back out of that field. I'm hooked up to the trailer now, so what the plan is I'm going to go over there, start grabbing those cars, bringing them over here, and I'm going to line them up right back here behind me. I do apologize if there's some wind noise. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. But this is the area where we're going to put the cars. I've already got a few cars lined up here. These are ones that just recently came in. Got an old Ford 1-ton, like a 62 I think it is. 61, 2, somewhere in there, maybe a 3, I don't know for sure. Then we got this old Chrysler, 55 Chrysler, somewhere about thereabouts. And then we got a 63 Thunderbird right here. Then we got this old T-Top Regal just came in as well. Unfortunately, the title situation on this car here is completely messed up. Kind of a shame because it's a rust-free car, but I think I got a guy coming to cut the roof off of it and maybe some other parts here this week or next week. So we're just gonna go ahead and knock it in the head. There's no motor in it anyway. It's got some good parts on it that'll help other cars to keep on living. So basically what the plan is I want to kind of leave this area back here open so I can store these crates if we get more crates, and I want to leave a driveway kind of right here in this area, kind of where this old International is sitting, basically the width of that International, and then pretend there was one more car sitting beside it. I want to leave a driveway open right through here. So basically what that means is if I started that Thunderbird and I start lining them up side by side all the way across, I can get them all the way over to about right here. So I can get quite a few cars in this area, and then I'll go forward right in front of there, and I'll do another row right there, and I'll go forward, and I could probably do one more row, and each row is going to be a little bit shorter because my driveway is kind of an angle right here, but I'm pretty sure I can get about 15 to 20 cars in this area right here. But I'm going to head over to the yard now. I'll show you the cars that we got to move, and then we'll get to work. All right, we are here. We are ready to go. I've got the loader in here, got the gate open. I'm just going to take my truck. I've got to find a couple rareitizer or something to put on my trailer for the ones that don't have wheels, because otherwise they'll be sitting flat on my trailer. And I'm pretty good with loaders, and especially with this loader, but the loader I'll be unloading these with has a massive blind spot to where I can't always see the tips of the forks, and I don't want to destroy my trailer or the cars. So I need to find some rareitizer or something, but I'll just pull it up here, park it right here, grab a car, throw it on the trailer, and take off driving. I'll probably just leave the gate open since I'm going to be going back and forth. This gate's kind of a pain to open and close, but I'll kind of walk through, show you the cars real quick, and then we'll get busy. This old Ford Elite is pretty rough. It's got some rust in it, and the interior is all tore up in it, but believe it or not, the parts on these 70s cars are starting to get pretty valuable, and they're getting harder and harder to find, and that's actually where most of the parts I sell come from, is from 70s vehicles. I don't hardly ever sell old stuff unless it's something popular. This old 58 Buick is a 4-door hardtop. I really like these cars with these windows in the back. That's pretty much the only thing about these cars that I actually like, is these windows back here. Just really cool. It's kind of like the old 5-window trucks, the old Chevys and Dodges, but it's just a car version, and it's just really neat. I don't know why they did that. I'm sure it was some sort of styling, but it is pretty cool. This car is very rough. Definitely a parts car or an art car. I thought about chopping. Oh, it's a 57. It says right there, 1957. See, I don't know much about Buicks, but that would make a really cool couch or something there, and then the nose make a good wall hanger. But I mean, if somebody wanted the car, I guess they could probably use it for parts, but it's definitely not restorable unless you wanted to dump way more than what it's worth into it. This old Ford here is pretty cool. Unfortunately, the frame is rusted out pretty bad on this car here. This old Nissan 300ZX, the problem with that one there is a guy sold the car to someone else, filled the title out in that guy's name, and then that guy never tagged it. And so it's not an antique, and can't ever get a hold of the last registered owner, so there's really no way of getting a title to that car. Lots of good parts on that one though. Got a couple old Ramblers here. Both of these are pretty rough, pretty rusty cars. This one's kind of neat being a wagon. Got a neat roof rack on it, and these cars here are just really unusual looking. You just don't hardly ever see them anymore. Lots and lots and lots of good parts on both of those though. Definitely good parts cars. And I apologize for the wind. It is just getting windier and windier and windier. My drone was wiggling all over the place. It was kind of hard to control. So I apologize for any static in the mic. This old Cutlass here, you just don't see these anymore. This is one of those weird slope back thingamajiggers. They're pretty unusual and you just don't hardly ever see them. Is why I saved it and I didn't crush it. It's got some rust in the very back of it, but the front part of it's pretty clean. This old Volare here, this is one of mine. This car has a Super 6 in it, an automatic, runs and drives perfect, but the rear end is blown up in it is what was wrong with this car here. This old 66 Dodge short bed right here, I drug that out of a field up in northern Kansas. Pretty rough front end of the truck, but the back end of the truck is pretty solid. There's really not any rust in this truck at all. It's just really beat up here. And this old 1960 Ford short bed, it's a step side, or whatever the Ford version of a step side was. It had a 302 and an automatic in it. We sold those. Had a good run in 302 in it. The hood's in the back, I think. Yeah, back there. But it's really beat up. It had a hard life, the hood did. But this truck doesn't have that much rust, really. It's got a little bit in the fenders, and I think the floors have a little bit. But this truck's probably very, very restorable. Then I've got this old 72 Riviera right here. This is a pretty cool car. I always loved these Riviera boat tails. These have those really neat back windows in them. I'll show you guys. Check this out. I absolutely love these things here. At some point in time, I want to take one of these and I want to cut it off right up there behind the door. And not this one. This one's way too nice to do that with. I've got a couple others that aren't nearly this nice that I'll do that with. But that would make just a really neat something. I don't know what, but it would make a neat something. Ow! Oh, that hurt. Oh, I just got my leg. I walked backwards right into the corner of that homemade bumper right there. Got my leg good. Woo-wee, that hurts. Anyway, next up is a 1940, I think, Dodge two-door. Pretty clean car. Hardly any rust. I mean, very, very, very minor rust in this car. I think it's the passenger door. Yeah, the passenger door is kind of crunched down there, you can kind of see. But other than that, it's a pretty solid car. Next up in the line is this old Jeep. Very rusty, pretty much just a parts Jeep, but it does have some really good parts. The rear bumper is rusted out on one side, but the other side is good, and both of the front ones are good. And those are usually a pretty valuable piece. It's a complete Jeep, everything's there, so I'm sure there's a lot of good parts for somebody. This old unibody Ford, it's kind of on the rough side, has a lot of rust. Usually these do. For whatever reason, these rusted a whole lot worse than the non-unibody versions. And I don't remember what motor's in it or anything like that. One thing that's cool about this truck, though, is it has a chrome grille. That's probably the most valuable piece of this whole truck, is that chrome grille. You just don't see those. I have some off of big trucks, but that's the only one I have off of a half ton. And the big trucks are different than the half tons. This old 58 Ranchero, kind of a shame. It's not too bad of a car. It's got some rust in the quarter panels, rocker. I mean, it's rusty. It's definitely rusty, but all 58 Fords are pretty much. And it's rusty here, and all the glass is knocked out of it, and the frame has a few spots of rust in it, so it's a lot of rust. But that engine, when we got this car, ran perfect. And I don't know if it still runs. I'm sure it would need completely rebuilt at this point, but it did still turn when I put it in here. So I don't know, probably a really good parts car for somebody. This old Mercedes here, I had a guy ask for pictures. I sent him pictures, and this is a very clean car, very minimal rust in this thing. And it did run, but all the linkage for all the carburetor and the shift, everything uses these little plastic bushings, because Mercedes like to be weird like that, and all those bushings are broken and gone, so nothing works. And I don't know where you would even get those bushings. But I had a guy very interested in this, and he was supposed to send me a deposit, and I haven't heard back from him as of filming this. Now, you watch, as soon as I get done filming, he'll send me the deposit, but we'll see. And this old Volare wagon here, this is another Super 6, but I don't need two spare engines, and I know a guy that likes these, and actually it was his dad that sold it to me, so I'm going to go ahead and sell that to that guy. I used to have one of these Volare wagons, almost identical to this, only it was white, and it had a 4-speed on the floor, which is super unusual for a wagon. It was a slant 6 with a 4-speed. Pretty cool. I sold it to my brother-in-law. He drives it all the time. This old mainline here is actually a pretty solid car. Now, they've done a little bit of rust repair, and so I'm sure there's a little bit of rust underneath that putty. I don't know how good their welds are. I don't know how good their putty job is. I don't know what they did under that, and that's why it's always kind of scary when you see putty on a car. But compared to what most of these things look like, it's not that rusty. Even if that is just full of putty down there, that's still not much to deal with. Usually these cars are just total rot boxes. And even the trunk floor, like the spare tire well there, all this is pretty solid. You can see where they've patched one little spot up there, kind of patched, not very good patched, but you know. It's missing the back seat, but you can see in there the floors are really solid in this car. Kind of cool how it has the radio delete in it. Kind of a plain Jane car. This is a 52 to 54. I don't know exactly how to tell. The 53s, if they have the center of the steering wheel, say 50-year anniversary, so those are easy to tell, but beyond that, I don't know how to tell. Check out this louvered hood. It's got a little bit of damage back here, but somebody spent a lot of money on that. Pretty complete other than the back seat. Like I say, this side here, even the fenders on this car, it's kind of amazing. Usually these Fords of this era are just completely rotted out. This is a very solid car, really. Very restorable car. This old 66 Toronado here, I've had a bunch of people interested in this, but I can't seem to get a hold of any of them now. They all emailed me, and sometimes I'm a little bit slow about answering emails, and so I guess I upset them by taking a couple weeks to answer them, but they haven't answered me back. Very complete car, has a little bit of rust around the wheels. Not too terrible. It's down there's probably the worst spot. You can kind of see it a little bit right there. But overall, this is a very solid car. We drug this out of a building. We've had it outside now for about 5 or 6 years, but before that it was stored inside. Yeah, look at that in there. The floors probably have a little bit of rust in them. I'm just guessing, they usually do on these. But overall, it's a very, very buildable car. The old 66 Cadillac is sold. My guy from Oklahoma that buys a lot of my Cadillacs wants this one, so he's going to be taking that one. The 58 Turnpike, I had a guy interested in that as well. I sent him a bunch of pictures, and then I haven't heard back from him, so I don't know for sure. It's really crunched in on the passenger door up there. Pretty solid car, but all the trim's gone, all the interior's gone. The motor and tranny are still in it, actually, but I don't know. It's one of those cars that it's a pretty rare car, and it is a two-door hardtop, so maybe it's worth putting back together, or maybe it's... I know these make really good derby cars. I know that's not probably a good thing to say. It probably upsets some people, but they do make really good derby cars. But I'll let somebody else decide this car's fate. It's up to whoever buys it. Next up on the list is this old Ford wagon. This is one of my dad's favorite cars. It's way too far gone to restore, but it's a really good parts car in case he finds a better one, or if nothing else, he just likes to come out and look at it. This old Mercury Monarch here, not really a collector item by any means, and I'm sure a bunch of people are like, oh, just smash that thing. But like I said earlier, 70s cars are starting to get somewhat popular, even into the early 80s, and it's getting harder and harder to find parts. This is a barn find, believe it or not. Very clean car. Has a little bit of surface rust on it, but it's not rusted out anywhere. Lots and lots of good parts right there. This old Nash, I don't know what my dad's wanting to do with that. I think he's wanting to sell it, but I don't know. I'll have to ask him for sure. It's a very cool car. Old bathtub looking thing. I think, yeah, it's all pretty much there. Pretty sure it's a complete car. I don't know anything about it mechanically though. I don't know if the motor's still good or rebuildable or anything like that. I like, well, if I can get the door to close, there we go. I like these aluminum frames around the windows. That was always one of my favorite things about these cars. This old Dodge here is actually a parts car for the convertible that you may have seen in one of my previous videos that my dad has in the building. This car is probably restorable if it was your favorite car. It does have some rust in the rocker panels. The trunk lid is just rotted gone. Good luck ever finding one of those. I'm sure that's a rare piece right there, because that's two-door only. But yeah, it's got some rust issues, and then the front clip on this car isn't very good, because that's actually the front clip that came off of the convertible. They swapped front clips, and then it's missing a lot of the chrome trim and whatnot, because that's all on the convertible now. And we're back to the Volare with the good motor that I'm keeping. I already talked about that one, so I think that's all of them now. A lot of cool stuff here. Most of them are for sale, some of them aren't. So I'm going to go ahead and lock the gate up over there, drive my truck forward, start hauling cars. I made it back to the yard, and check this guy out. He's cold. He ain't even trying to run away, or she. I don't know what it is. Went back over here somewhere now. Oh, curling up. You got some energy now. You thinking about striking at me? Don't worry, I'm going to leave you alone. Just want to make sure you stay out of the road. Don't want to run over you. And there we go. We are finally done moving cars. Actually, we've been done for about 4 hours, 5 hours at this point in time. I just had a lot of people here this afternoon, so I was busy with that. But I got them all lined up. The 60 or 61 Ford wagon that my dad was wanting to keep, I put it out back. That way it was out of the way. And then the old 66 Cadillac is sold already, so I put it out back out of the way. Then the old Nash station wagon is literally rotting in half. So I don't think anybody would ever pay what I would have to have out of that compared to what it's worth in art. I think I'm way better off just chopping that one up. So I stashed it out back as well. And then of course the Valari station wagon is sold. The guy was here a little bit ago, picked it up, took it home, and he actually ended up buying the old Barracuda over there. That car there, I've had that forever. I have sent pictures of that car to 30 million people and nobody ever wanted to buy it. So this guy actually came through and bought it. It's kind of funny how that happens. He didn't even know it was here. He just happened to be here and saw it and said, oh, I'll take that. I had one guy supposed to be here today to look at that. He didn't show up. I had a guy supposed to be here today to look at that one. He didn't show up. And then the Riviera over there, I had two people supposed to be here today to look at that, and they didn't show up. So not looking very good for the rest of these. But hopefully I can find a few homes for these. At least a couple of them. That would be nice. I'll be completely honest, I don't have real high hopes of finding homes for them. I've had multiple offers on the old 62 Dodge. Somebody found out I had that, and they posted it on a Facebook page. And I've had hundreds of people commenting saying they want it. I've had a few messages saying they wanted it, but the only person that actually offered money said he would give me scrap price, but only if I would deliver it 60 miles. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, maybe a few of these will find new homes, and the rest of them will sit here until I have time to chop them up for art. I know people really hate it when I do that, but you got to think about it from my perspective. Most of these cars, if I cut them up and part out what's left, I will make more money than what I'm asking for these cars. So it's better for me financially to knock them in the head. But because I love old cars, I'm trying to find them new homes. So I leave it in everybody else's hand. I don't decide the fate of these cars. Everybody else decides the fate of these cars. I wish it wasn't copyrighted. I'd play that In the Arms of an Angel song. Like they play when they're adopting out dogs, trying to find them new homes, try to make people feel sorry for them. I'd do the same thing for these cars, but I might do that on Instagram Reels. And don't worry, I won't be cutting any of these up anytime soon. We're talking some serious cold weather coming in, maybe some snow and ice, so I don't feel like chopping stuff up when it's like that. So these will probably sit right here until spring. If nothing else, they're fun to come out here and walk through them and look at them. And I'll give it at least that long to try to find new homes. But with that, I'm going to try to get a little bit more work done today. It's pretty nice out right now, but it's not going to be nice for very long. It's supposed to drop below freezing tomorrow night, and then it's supposed to be like 17 degrees is the high on Friday, and it's looking pretty rough for the next week or two. So if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below which was your favorite vehicle. As always, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day, and remember to get out there and find an adventure. We'll see you on the next one.